What up, YouTube? Welcome back. All right, I want to come at you guys right quick with a quick, brief little video talking about people in the community referring to skin tones as sort of like fashion trends. For example, dark skinned men are in, light skinned men are out, etc. Right? And I usually only hear it you only usually hear it being referred to when it comes to the men. You usually hardly ever hear people say it referring to the women. I mean, when's the last time you ever heard someone say, like, oh, dark skinned women are out or light skinned women are in? But then again, I guess maybe that could spin a whole nother conversation about, well, of course, no one ever said that because, well, perhaps because maybe light skinned women have quote unquote always been in, so there's no need to really say that, right? And as well on the flip side, dark skinned women have not ever really had their time in the spotlight, so again, there would be no reason to say these ladies are in and these ladies are out. Out, right? But I know that we can kind of say that and kind of like fun, ha ha, hee hee, right? But I do notice that people tend to say that kind of for some reason a little more than they should, referring to like skin tones on men in particular as being sort of in or being out, etc. Like we some fashion trends in here. Like, come on, all right. But also, I think if like the men did that to the women, the women would definitely like the women would pop off pretty much, right? And as well, you kind of notice like, oh, it's usually perhaps like more so directed toward the men because I think the men can kind of take it more so than the women. I think the women might be a little too sensitive to kind of deal with that sort of a thing. Um, and as well, like usually the light skinned men are on like the brunt of that, right? Because they're being told that they're out. And I think that light skinned men have been pretty good sports about it, and they haven't really did any like protest or anything. Could you imagine protest holding up picket signs? We're not out. Right. Skin tones are not fashion trends. Right. Um, and as well, dark skinned men don't have anything to complain about because they're the ones they're being uplifted. So there's no complaints, right? Really? But I think another thing to talk about right quick is like, where does that really come from? Because, it's a joke and all, but let's be real, like jokes do come from a place of truth. There is some truth in like the jokes though, right? And jokes. And I think people like to say that and promote that low key because it's like, oh, we're rejecting like light skin being like the standard. But the thing is though, while the light skinned man is out, the light skinned women and the light skinned kids are still kind of quote unquote in, right? And I think like dark skinned people, both the men and the women tend to kind of like promote like, oh, these light skinned men are out, right? And I can understand why the men do it, but the women, that's kind of like, I had to sort of think about that one for a minute. And I think the dark skinned women tend to do that because they feel like, oh, since the dark skinned man is in, the dark skinned woman is in. And it should be like that. It should. And I think that dark skinned women do definitely deserve their, quote unquote time in the spotlight, their upliftment, you know, that is equivalent to what the light skinned women are getting. I do. Um, but I think they do that because they kind of feel like, you know, since dark-skinned men are in, dark-skinned women are in, and it's kind of like supporting just dark skin in general, which, it's not nothing wrong with doing that. But I just think that's where it comes from, or could be partly where it comes from. Another place it could come from is probably because perhaps, some light-skinned men curved them and they feel kind of bitter about it. That could be a possibility too, you know, because how that goes. Light-skinned people, both the men and the women, know how that goes in the community. Where it's like, with one light-skinned person fucks up, the whole light-skinned segment is seen as like they're judged based on that one light-skinned person's fuck up. All right. Sometimes I think like the light-skinned people sometimes can be judged as a collective in the community, versus individuals in the community. And I think it kind of can go that way for dark-skinned folks, light-skinned folks judging darker-skinned people as well. And as well, I think that dark-skinned women are just trying to. I think they're siding with the people who they should be siding with, which are dark-skinned men. Um, and I kind of think that perhaps maybe dark-skinned women maybe felt like, since the dark-skinned men were being ushered in, the dark-skinned men would help usher in the dark-skinned women. All right? But unfortunately, it didn't happen like that. It wasn't like a shift from like totally light to dark. It was kind of like, well, we'll kind of give you a little leeway here and switch this one out with this one, but we still got this one here. So then, and really, I could do like a whole video on what really, because I want to go into it, but it'll make the video too long, so I ain't gonna go there. But basically, I was just thinking like perhaps this may have been like strategic, orchestrated, calculated by the powers that be to sort of bring this group of people in and put this group of people out while having this group of people in, right? For example, the light-skinned man is out, replaced with the dark-skinned man, but the light-skinned woman is still in, thus creating a sort of a shift, so to speak, and a sort of animosity because of that shift, right? Because the thing is, if both the dark-skinned men and dark-skinned women were out, they would be more or less on the same page, right? But because the dark-skinned man is getting some shine, they're not. Dark-skinned women and dark-skinned men are not quite on the same page when it comes to some things until it affects them both, right? Unfortunately, yeah, I think that is just the reality. But yeah, I think I'm pretty much done. This is more or less my PSA, my public service announcement. Skin tones are not fashion trends, whether on men or women. They're not fashion trends, okay? So you shouldn't refer to them as being out or being in, etc., right? You shouldn't. I get, yeah, it's a joke, but sometimes you can go overboard. That's all. And for those people who are saying, oh, you're just bitter and jealous. Well, I don't think they would say that, but, you're just hating because you ain't in. All right. I'm not hating, all right? If I was seeing it play out and I was on the receiving end of it, as far as receiving the benefits of it, I would still say something about it, all right? And as well, just a little hint. Forget the hint. Let me just give the spoiler. All right, spoiler. The light skin is still in, and dark skin is still, I'll say, not in, quote unquote. So I don't come off as being like insensitive and things like that. Right. Despite the shift, it's still kind of like that way, unfortunately, where we kind of need to find a way to incorporate everybody into the community, not just one segment, right? And some people are like, well, dark skinned men are in. Well, if you really think about it, how in are they, right? No shade, but are you really that in if you're going through this, like, say, wage discrimination, police brutality, being viewed as like the bottom of the barrel in terms of like romantic partners, you know, being viewed as less worthy of life and like animalistic. And I'm not saying these things because I believe them, but I'm saying these are the things that are like out there as far as like the thoughts. Because, go on record, I don't believe those things. Right? All right. So I don't want people to look at the video and be like, this shady light skin, mother effer, right? Because I don't. But those are the things that are out there. I'm just putting those things out there, right? Just to sort of say, hey, it's not all good in the hood, as the media may lead you to believe, just because, perhaps you're getting a little shine here and there. That's all. But again, I think I've said all I have to say. Thanks for watching, you guys. Feel free to comment. Feel free to leave your feedback. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.